Good Erev Shabbos. So, if you leave Brighton, which is where I am, and most of you are watching from, if you leave Brighton, Massachusetts, and you head out onto the Mass Pike, onto I-90, and you drive west for about an hour and a half to 2 hours on I-90, eventually you'll come across a road that was first paved in 1910, a road which was initially founded in a little town called Becket, Massachusetts. Now, at the time that this road was created, it was described as being the first highway ever built for automobiles, or what they called at the time horseless carriages. It was the first highway built for cars to drive through a major mountain range, right? They didn't have these roads built to drive, up and down mountains. And due to this innovation as a means of safe travel to the great heights of mountains, because it was so innovative in allowing people to reach great heights on a road, this road was dubbed Jacob's Ladder Trail. In Becket, in Massachusetts, where that road starts, there's even an event space, still used today, cleverly named Jacob's Pillow. And the imagery found in Parshat Vayeitzei of the ladder and of the ascending and descending angels in Yaakov's dream, that imagery has captured the imagination of artists and engineers all over the world for many years and remains a source of inspiration today. There are paintings, books, films, bridges, a mathematical topological surface, and an old African American spiritual that are all named after this vision of a ladder associated with Jacob, with Yaakov Avinu. And each of these things that's named Jacob's Ladder provides its own insight into what Yaakov may have been seeing and into what the message of the dream was. And there's one detail of this story of the dream that sticks out to commentators and that might help us explain why Yaakov's dream resonates with people, why it has such an enduring impact on people's faith. And that detail is the order of the angel's movement on the ladder. The pasuk says, "Vayachalom." Yaakov had a dream. So there was a ladder that was planted on the ground, and its head reached into the heavens. There were angels of God ascending and descending on it, or on him. Rashi and many other commentators ask why the Torah describes the angels as ascending first and only then descending. Because one would have assumed that angels are coming from heaven, they're coming from Shemayim, from above, and thus they should be descending to the earth before they rise back up toward Shemayim. So Rashi answers that the angels that were ascending the ladder were not the same angels as the ones that were descending on the ladder. There were two separate sets of angels. Since birth, Yaakov had been surrounded by a particular set of angels here on earth. They were already here on earth. However, since Yaakov is about to leave his home in Israel, to leave his family, and to head out to a more dangerous and unfamiliar territory in Haran, the angels that had been with him his whole life needed to be replaced with a new set of angels. And in the dream, what Yaakov is seeing in his dream is that the original angels are ascending back to heaven, and the new set tasked with protecting Yaakov in exile are descending. And the Torah is informing us that we are always escorted by malachim, by angels, invisible protectors from God. But which set of angels is assigned to us is not a constant. It changes as we change through life. Rav Menachem Genak quotes Rav Yosef Eliyahu Henkin Zatzal as saying that Rashi's approach to this dream explains a strange aspect of the song Shalom Aleichem that many Jews sing every Friday night. Because in the first two stanzas of the song, we welcome the angels and say Shalom Aleichem Malachei Hasharet, we welcome the angels sent by Kadosh Baruch Hu to join us on Shabbat. But in the last stanza, we say, Seitchem l'shalom malachei hashalom, which means go out in peace, angels of peace. Well, why are we already saying goodbye to the angels immediately after welcoming them? We just said, Shalom aleichem and Ba'achem l'shalom. Why are we saying Seitchem l'shalom? Says Rab Hinkins Zatzal, the end of the song and the beginning of the song are referring to two different sets of angels. They're not the same angels. We first welcome the new angels who joined us for Shabbat, and we wish them Shalom Aleichem and Ba'achem Shalom. And then we turn to the angels that have been with us for the entire past week, and we ask for their final blessings for wishing them well on their departure, and we say Tzedchem Shalom. In contrast, Professor Nechama Leibowitz cites the Sfarno and Midrash Tanchuma as explaining that Yaakov's dream is not a vision of something that is literally happening. He's not seeing angels, literal angels that exist in real life. Rather, what he's seeing were these angels ascending and descending the ladder. What he's seeing is a metaphor about the future of the Jewish people. The Torah says that there were multiple angels ascending and multiple descending. Malachei Elokim that were Olim, going up, and Yordim, going down. So there were multiple going up and down. So at minimum, there had to be 4 angels, 2 going up, 2 going down. So Midrash says that the angels represent the 4 empires that would oppress the Jewish people in the future, in Yaakov's children's future: Egypt, Babylonia, Persia, and Rome. And through this vision, Yaakov reassures, or depending on how you count, it could be Babylonia, Greece, Persia, and Rome, whatever the case is. And through this vision, Hashem reassures Yaakov that though these empires will rise initially, ascend the ladder toward heaven, they will eventually fall. They will eventually descend the ladder. And so that's what this dream is about. Rav Adin Steinsaltz, excuse me, Rav Adin Steinsaltz quotes another midrash from Breshit Rabbah that presents an entirely different interpretation of the dream. When we look more closely at the pasuk that's describing the dream, the pasuk says that there was a ladder extending from earth to heaven, and right, there were angels of God, olim v'yordim bo, going up and down bo. And most assume that this phrase means that the angels were ascending and descending on the ladder. Bo is the ladder. On it means on the ladder. But as Dr. Aviva Gottlieb's points out, angels have wings. And they're also obviously not limited by gravity, so why would angels need a ladder? Rather, says the Midrash in Breshit Rabbah, the Torah is saying, when it says Malachei Elokim Olim Yardim Bo, that the angels were ascending and descending Bo, meaning on him, on Yaakov, not on the ladder. Midrash explains that in Yaakov's dream, the angels were jumping up and down on Yaakov as he was sleeping, jeering at him, making fun of him, making light of him. They saw Yaakov sleeping on the ground and were incredulous when they realized that they had seen his face engraved on the throne of glory in heaven, and here he is sleeping on the ground. The angels kept ascending back to heaven to look at Yaakov's image there on the throne of glory, on the Kisei HaKavod, and then descending back to earth to compare what they saw with the face of the man passed out sleeping on a rock before them. Now, you can ask, well, why are they making fun of him? What is the criticism? Rav Steinsaltz suggests that the angels were criticizing Yaakov for sleeping in that particular moment. Because as long as Yaakov was at home, and then according to Midrash, he was studying in Yeshivat Shem Ve'eber, Yaakov was sheltered from realizing the pivotal role that he was meant to play in the world. But once he left those protective spaces, once he left his comfort zone and stepped onto the world stage, he should have been restless, unable to sleep, uncertain about his future and what he had the potential to do and to become. And the angels had seen his potential, had seen his image on the Kisei HaKavod, on God's throne of glory. They knew the ideal future Yaakov, and they were underwhelmed by what they saw of him while he was sleeping, a man blissfully and naively unaware of what he had the potential to be. Now, the problem with this interpretation, right, that the angels were ascending and descending on Yaakov, right? The problem is that we're now left wondering, if the angels were not on the ladder, then why was there a ladder in the dream at all? The Rambam in his Guide for the Perplexed gives us a clue in his interpretation of the words that immediately follow the angels ascending and descending. Says the pasuk, "V'hinei Hashem nitzav alav." Behold, Hashem was standing on him, over him, beside him, or beside it. Most translations interpret this phrase to mean that God was standing above or next to. Allah means on him, on Yaakov. But says the Rambam, says Maimonides, the Torah means to say that God was standing over or by, not Yaakov, but here Allah means the ladder. That the word nitzav does not mean stand, that God was standing in the literal sense of being physically present somewhere. Hashem being nitzav alav means God was maintaining the ladder, holding it steady, ready for people to climb up and back down, right? It was not for the angels to climb, it was for people to climb. It was for Yaakov to climb, not the angels. And God is holding that ladder steady, presenting it as an opportunity for Yaakov to take advantage of. And this explains why Yaakov responds in the way that he does to the dream when he wakes up. Vayikatz Yaakov mishnato. Yaakov woke up suddenly from his dream, from his sleep, Vayomer, and he said, Achi, yesh Hashem b'makom hazeh. Indeed, Hashem is here in this place, va'anochi lo yadati. And I did not know. Vayira, and he was afraid, Vayomer, and he said, Vayomar, he said, Ma norah b'hamakom hazeh. How awesome is this place, fearsome is this place. This is none other than the dwelling place of God that is the gateway to heaven. So Yaakov describes the place where he was sleeping and where he wakes up as the gateway to heaven, maybe because it is his gateway there, not the angels. Yaakov goes to sleep ignorant of his potential, of the doors wide open for him to grow, to climb, to rise, and he wakes up shocked and terrified. Then when he realizes that he might have missed his chance. So Yaakov immediately makes a symbolic altar in that place and vows to God that he will return to his father's house intact after the journey and he will not make the same mistake again. Rav Yaakov Nagen adds that Yaakov's realization is not only about where he is at the Shara Shamayim and at a makom where Hashem is present, a place where Hashem is present, but it's also a realization, says Rav Nagen, about who he is, about who Yaakov is. When Yaakov says, Va'anochi lo yadati, he could have just said, V'lo yadati, right? He could have said, I didn't know. What's with the word anochi? It seems unnecessary. So says Rav Yaakov again, maybe Yaakov means to say, Anochi lo yadati, I didn't know myself. I didn't know who I was and how much is riding on my living up to my potential. I didn't know that my face is on the throne of glory. I didn't know that the very existence of the universe in some sense, on some level, is dependent on my behavior. The interpretation of the ladder as being for Jacob to climb, for Yaakov to climb, rather than the angels is not actually unique to Jewish literature. It's also found in a famous African-American spiritual composed and sung during the days of slavery as early as 1824, probably maybe even in the 18th century. Entitled, We Are Climbing Jacob's Ladder, the song is about hope for freedom, about continuing the climb towards God's glory, soldiering on towards freedom and salvation. And the message of the song is that the ladder is for each of us, for us people, to climb in our own journeys toward liberation and spirituality. Yes, there are Christian messages in the song as well, but that is the interpretation of Jacob's ladder. There's a famous story about the brother of the Hasidic master, Rabbi Elimelech of Lezhensk. The brother was named Rabbi Meshulem Zusha of Anipoli, and commonly referred to as Reb Zusha. Reb Zusha was known for his piety and his sensitivity. And at the end of his life, while on his deathbed, Reb Zusha's students found him crying inconsolably right before his death. And his students tried to comfort Reb Zusha by saying, why do you cry? You've been as kind as Abraham, and you are as wise and as learned as Moshe Rabbeinu. Why are you crying? And Reb Zusha replied, when I die and stand before the heavenly court, I'm not worried that they're going to ask me, Zusha, why weren't you Abraham Avinu? Or Zusha, why weren't you Moshe Rabbeinu? I'm not worried about that. I'm worried they will ask me, Zusha, why weren't you Zusha? Why didn't I fulfill my potential? Why didn't I follow the path that was meant for me, for Zusha? Why didn't I become the ideal Zusha? The Talmud in Brachot says that according to Rebbe Lazar, the Holy One, blessed be He, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, said about him, about man, the entire world was created only for this person. It says of Steinsaltz, what that Gemara is saying is that it's referring to every single person, that the entire world was created for each individual. And that this is a message that every person needs to absorb, that the world was created for him or her. Now, that doesn't mean that the world was created for him or her alone, that only I matter, nobody else does. That's obviously not the case if everyone's getting the same message. What the Gemara means to say, says of Steinsaltz, is that each of us needs to realize that it would have been worthwhile for Hashem to create the world just for me or just for you. That each of us, by ourselves, has the potential to justify the creation of the world. Each of us, like Yaakov, may be engraved on the Kisei HaKavod, on the throne of glory. And if we ignore that, we ignore that potential, if we don't notice the ladder that God is holding up for us, we will miss our opportunity to realize our ideal selves. And we'll miss our opportunity to become what we could be. And we will be asked, Zusha, why weren't you Zusha? Look at this engraving, the face of the person you could have become. Why didn't you do that? We are all climbing Jacob's ladder, but we don't always realize it. May we wake up and say, Anochi lo yadati, I didn't realize who I am, who I could be. May we all try to be true to who we can be. We don't need to be like someone else, but we do need to live up to our own individual potential, to try our best to get closer and closer to the ideal, whether we ever get there or not. May Hashem help guide us toward that vision, and we will fulfill our vow to Him, to Hashem, to return home intact, to be good people, decent people, serious people who never give up and are committed to continue climbing the ladder, Jacob's ladder, no matter what. I want to wish you a good, enjoyable, and safe Shabbos.